we're in good shape. Gentlemen, hey, I love the album. I love what you guys are doing. It's an honor and a pleasure to catch up with you. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You.
Happy
So,
to be here.
yeah, you bet. So before we get into the album, one of the biggest things that affected musicians and humans was this pandemic 5 years ago. It was as it was raging. How did you make it through that era, and how did it influence the way that you made this album or the way that you roll as a musician today?
Someone want to take that?
uh, it's just I don't know, but my life has gotten pretty much back to what it was pre-COVID with myself teaching, playing gigs, but I'm more streamlined as far as my freelance life is concerned. I'm not quite as diversified. I joined a different band besides Atlantis and other groups that I'm in. But my circle of people that I play with, I think, is a little smaller, but it's tighter and maybe a little more productive. I don't know. I don't know how I survived, but here I am.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, I think well, just from the standpoint of like the effects of COVID on the scene, I think here in the Twin Cities, we're starting to see all of the spaces that kind of became available from places closing and things like that are starting to open up. We have a few new venues here, not least the one that we did this live album at, but there's been a couple more. There's a new place opening in this area in town called Uptown. So I think some of that is starting to happen in the kind of post-COVID pandemic era. For this band, I think this record wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. You know, we didn't play really much that year, and then as things started to open back up, we started playing some shows again. And at that point, after having that kind of weird gap year, I guess we'll call it, just we were kind of tired of all of our music that we had been playing for, you know, since the previous album in 2018 and then our first album in 2007. We just had a lot of different music over the course of like 4 or 5 records. And when we were starting to play again, we kind of had this like aha moment where, or I don't know if that's what you want to call it, but a moment where we just realized like, let's stop playing and work on writing some new music before we play again. So it's funny, like everything restarted and we restarted, but then we were like, actually, let's go back to not playing again for a while until we had this new music that's on this record.
So today's the release date. What do you do on a release day? What do you get goggles and like put plastic up around the room and start throwing champagne everywhere? What do you do?
I like that.
We have a 2-night CD, 2-night album release party booked at Berlin where we recorded. So we're playing tonight and tomorrow night in Minneapolis. 4 sets over the course of the 2 nights, and you know, Zacc running Shifting Paradigm and the album coming out on that is sort of gave us, you know, this release schedule that he likes to have where we're sort of pre-releasing some tunes, and so today's the big drop day. But I don't know, are we gonna party that hard at Berlin? I don't know if we are.
I'm always up for a little party. Yeah.
Goggles yet though.
Yeah, you got to get on that, Pete.
I guess that's just my wish. I wish one time it was just like, man, we're gonna go nuts. It's gonna be like Game 7. One of us hit the home run, and we're just gonna absolutely destroy this hotel room. That's what I want to hear. You know.
Well, maybe if we were on the road for this one, but you know,
yeah,
I would just be destroying my own house in this case.
Jazz guys are notorious.
It can't be your abode. It's got to be somewhere on a neutral ground for sure. So the one thing about jazz is I know that you guys are all involved in different incarnations, different assemblages of musicians, but it all has to work. There's got to be a level of chemistry that comes together. What is it chemistry wise with you guys that makes this work, that makes the sound work? What do you think that is?
Pete, you want to take that one?
That's a great question. I think about this a lot too, and I guess what the conclusion I come to is a willingness to listen to each other, like, and to really kind of understand what players' tendencies are, and the preferences, where they're coming from, and trying to figure out where you meet in the middle with that. Because I think, we've all experienced in this band playing with other players. So, you can play with some really great, accomplished people, but there isn't chemistry, for whatever reason. And you could still maybe take care of business. But I think the reason why this band came together and still exists is because we make that space to kind of try to understand where the other players are coming from, and to try to connect more than just like, well, we played the notes on the page, there it is. We try to kind of make something out of it, out of our four personalities.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Pete was alluding to, like we started out basically as kind of a composition collective workshop band, if you will. We were all writing, and we were getting together very regularly in the early days, and I think going through that process of navigating how to play my tunes, how to play Pete's tunes, how to play Chris and Brandon's, you kind of learn a level of like cooperation and compromise, both personally and musically, in this kind of a group that you don't necessarily get in another thing where there's like a leader. And so I think that has ultimately reflected in the music over the years.
I think the one thing about releasing a live album too, especially in the absence of music during COVID, is I'm seeing more live albums, and I don't know if it's premeditated or not, but I think the one thing about living in 2025, without getting too political here, is that we're living under an administration that's not friendly to creatives and artists, and it's not going to make things easier all the way around, from actors to musicians. But us people, and even you as musicians, you're fans of music. You listen to music. You go to shows. Do you ever think about that? Is that something that you go into these shows thinking, I'm going to take these people away for a little while from this whole world of things that are very distracting? I mean, we used to be weaned. I mean, I yearn for those easy political days where Obama got dinged for a tan suit. Now we got just chaos everywhere. We look, the news headlines, it's people are detoxing from the news. So the arts and music is an oasis for people to feel like we're really connected and things make sense. Are you feeling that pull more as you get on stage?
Uh, I think it depends on the audience for sure, but I certainly have been performing with that intention to bring people together and to try to make a universal vibration or whatever you want to call it that appeals to a broader group of people from an emotional place for a long time, way before COVID. But yeah, I think that this group, especially because we have a long history, people can hear the chemistry and the listening, like Pete was talking about, and the interaction is more personal in a certain way. And I think people identify and hear those things in the music. I've been going to a bunch of shows in the last like 6 weeks. I saw Herbie Hancock the other night. I saw Ches Smith Band. I saw Autechre. I saw Larry Goldings, Bill Stewart, Peter Bernstein, and some couple other things. I can't remember. Anyway, every one of those shows, the people were like just kind of keyed in, and the audience felt like it was ready for that moment, and they were ready to be in that space. So I don't think you're wrong at all, man. I think you're hitting it right on the head that like all of this stuff in the world is reflected in our daily lives. And when we step on stage to play, people are definitely like looking to get out of their headspace. And I think instrumental music can deliver that in a way that maybe some vocal music can't, even though vocals more people identify with vocals in a certain way because they're getting a story. But if you can abstract the story in your head by listening to guys jam for 10 minutes on a 7/8 song, then that's awesome for us.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly is. So you've been together since 2006. It's a long time to being together as a band. What have you discovered about yourselves in this process? Because you're doing other things, but as a unit, as a band, I guess I'm kind of getting nostalgic too because Rush is coming back. I just covered an event. Geddy Lee was in Kansas City and he donated 200 baseballs to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And I was taking pictures, and everybody that was like meeting him and getting the book signed looked like they finally made it to heaven. The minute they walked away from Geddy, they were like tears, and they just were like, because Rush is a very there's a level of that fan base that's different from any other fan base.
Well,
And
real quick,
yeah,
Chris actually has a Rush tribute band. and,
really,
and he and Pete are big Rush heads. And in
I
fact,
love it.
when we go
My
on the road, Brandon
homeboy.
and I do a little bet between us at how long it'll take before the two of them start talking about Rush. So thanks for unlocking this
Dude, I
one,
did it.
Phil.
I felt it. It was emanating from this computer screen. I don't know how, but I felt it. But
That's funny.
but I was thinking about that with those guys because over the years, and I listened to Geddy Lee's audiobook, and I'm listening to this kind of beginning to now, and how it is really like a marriage. It's like a relationship. It's a long-term relationship. What is it that you've learned about yourselves individually and collectively by being together so long? Because that's not a small feat to stay together that long.
No, go ahead, Pete. Show that show the love.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
Um,
what.
so here, this is here's a good example that's a brief but meaningful. When I joined the band a couple years after in '08, and I was the only one with kids. I was the only one who was married. All these years later, we now have five other children in the band, and we have marriages, divorces, all sorts of chaos, all sorts of great stuff. And the ultimate thing there is that you've put the longevity into the friendship with your musician mates, and then our fans have continued to come see us, and we've made new fans over the years as well. And that relationship that bands have with their audience is obviously like paramount. And as you said, Rush would be nothing if they didn't have their rabid fan base, which is millions of people at this point, as evidenced by this crazy amount of ticket demand that
Yeah,
just happened recently. I mean, I got one ticket to one of the shows, and I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to take my family to at least one of the shows, and it's going to be absolutely bonkers. But I mean, I think those guys are a little bit on the edge of like the Grateful Dead and Rush and other bands that have this like very specific following that's like endear that their fans just gave it all up for those guys. And I certainly did when I was 13 and continue to this day.
yeah,
So
And
I hope there's people who are listening to our music who feel the same way about our music too, because I think they are. I definitely talk to some of them every day or every few days. So it's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Go, you got anything, Pete? Go for it.
boy, yeah, I guess I don't know. Just to kind of echo what Chris is saying, like there's been a lot of life that's happened since we started, and I think, you know, for me personally, like it when I was younger, a younger musician, I guess I could speak for Brandon and Zach. Like we formed this group so we could have a spot where we could try out all of our ideas and really kind of pursue a sound that we had. And some of it was maybe, I mean, I'll speak for myself. Some of it was maybe driven a little bit by ego. Like I really wanted to have certain things of my playing featured in the music or whatever. And I think I think now after several years, that's kind of taken a back seat, and I'm definitely kind of just almost listening to the music like a spectator rather than a participant. And that's just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that there is something that happens, you know, we've all played with other people for a really long time as well, but in this kind of collective idea, it is a family thing, and with family, a lot of life happens. We've had we've had people that were fans pass away,
Yeah.
and I think there's something really. We performed at a memorial for somebody last last winter uh, who had passed away, and there's something really emotional about that because that some of the people in that room had had emotional resonance with some of the music that we had played, whether it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and I think that's a kind of an amazing thing to be able to share with three other people and then all the other people who are a part of it as well.
So I'm going to continue to lock in on that fantastical, like live Rush experience. And I'm going to ask you this as a unit, as individuals playing this music, our psyche gets kind of formed by the early shows that we see, those seminal moments. I remember as a kid seeing the Michael Jackson Victory Tour when that glove came up and just the way that band interacted. I mean, it's the Jackson 5. What was the early live experience for you that formed just like deep subconscious psychological things in you that influenced the way that you would approach the stage in your career?
Wow. Well, I grew up in a family, like I was going to concerts and performances when I was like 0. My dad was a band director and a professional musician, and so I was around the music on many levels for I ha and have been for my whole life. So like early formative stuff for me was like Maynard Ferguson or Woody Herman or big band stuff that my dad was playing. Early small group jazz stuff that I saw when I was in my teens or whatever. Trying to think of some of the first things I went to at that time. I saw the Ray Brown Trio. I saw McCoy Tyner. I saw Chucho Valdez. Well, I guess I'm thinking of piano players at the moment. Um, there were a lot of different things like that. And then when I was in college, I had a lot of performance experiences with heavy players in the jazz world. My first actual rock concert was a Rush show. And so that was, when I was like 15 or something like that. But those things were also few and far between because in the 80s, you didn't travel to other towns to see your band. You waited until they came to your town, and then all your friends went to X show or whatever that was. And so, uh, yeah, I think that for me at least, there's just this deep-seated family roots of jazz and improvisation and just great music. If it's good music, as Duke Ellington said, there's only two kinds, good music and bad music. And so those are that's kind of how I look at it, and I try to keep a little bit wider angle lens about those things, but that's a pretty wild question, man.
I guess for me, in high school, I got into improvised music through bands like the Grateful Dead and Fish, and I saw both of them. I saw one of Jerry's last shows in 1995, and then it was like through getting into that kind of music that I kind of went back and got more into jazz as like a higher form of improvised music, and then in college, I got to see like Dave Holland's group, and I think a real seminal moment for me was seeing Wayne Shorter Quartet. Um, yeah, so those things definitely kind of can help shape how one approaches the stage. So I know that's like all the way from here to here, but that was just my experience of kind of how I got into this music. Pete?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of similar. I did not grow up in a musical family, although it was pretty encouraged. I think my mom really wanted me to be a musician now that I look back. And I actually, I was in like a boys choir, and I had to play trombone, which I did not like in grade school. So I didn't think this music thing was going to be for me. But I always really liked drumming. And I remember, so yeah, my mom took a chance and rented me a drum set, and then the rest is, I'm still doing it. But a few of the early shows for me, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones is probably, I mean, and I'd seen Rush twice before that, but that was like the first kind of jazz-ish show that I played or that I watched was Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, and it seemed to me like they were able to kind of take the line between the audience and the performers and kind of just erase that. And you were like right up there with them.
Mm.
And there's so much drama in all the solos and the notes and the textures of the tune that, I mean, I don't know, it felt like I was watching a movie or something. And I that definitely changed me. That made me want to become a musician and kind of just share in that energy of performance. Yeah, I'm still trying to kind of chase that.
I love it. So, speaking of live, your latest album, today is the release date, live at Berlin. If anyone wants to pick up a copy that's going to benefit you the most or catch you live doing your thing, where do they go?
The record can get purchased from the labels, shiftingparadigmrecords.com or the Bandcamp page for that. That's probably the best place to buy it, but honestly, any way that people want to check out the record is great. And then in terms of shows, atlantisquartet.com, you can find our schedule. We're going to be in Chicago next month, and then in Wisconsin, and then also Des Moines. And then we're working on booking some stuff out after that.
Okay. I will be sure to put all of these links in the show notes. Gentlemen, thank you so much. When you have this massive celebration, wear some GoPros. I want to see what it looks like.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, guys.
All right.
Good work. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank
Yeah.
you.